hoping that each one of us will do our homework and make it better.
Behind every great dream is a dreamer.
I just really want people to understand that this cannot be ignored.
Today on Spotlight, local activists are the focus this week. We take a look at business owners fighting for human rights. Plus, remembering civil rights icon and St. Louisan, Frankie Freeman. And a Metro East animal rescue group that saves dogs by teaching humans. But first, a one-woman show telling abolitionist Harriet Tubman's remarkable life story. It's Sunday, and you're watching Spotlight.
Oh, get that freedom. Oh, freedom! I got to do my best in every single way. I want to live out the freedom that I have today. I want to honor those who came before me, who fought and died for a life they couldn't see. Freedom! So the name of the show is called Harriet Tubman, an American Hero. And it falls under the category of a one-person show. So it's historical in content, and I play her life from age 9 to 92. And I play all of the roles, all of the different stages that she goes through, and the characters that she interacts with. And even though you don't have to call nobody massa, and you can spend your money the way you want, you can't even vote. But when I looked at Harriet Tubman's story, well, I thought that that was a story that I knew just like everybody else always feels that they know. But when I started researching, I was really blown away by the incredible energy and strategy that was used through the Underground Railroad and how she succeeded. I have heard that you have made 19 trips secretly to free slaves. Is that true, Harriet Tubman? Oh, yes. I freed about 300. We need trustworthy and loyal people like you, Harriet Tubman. Would you be? She was the first woman in the military in the United States to create and lead a military campaign. Through some of those, she freed like an additional 700 slaves. She really believed in her freedom. In fact, one of her quotes is that she felt that she had a right to two things, liberty and freedom or death. And if I can't have one, I will have the other. I think it's really timely because right now in the United States, we hear a lot about division, specifically, black and white. But in this story, I really saw how black people and white people really had to work vigorously together to free people through the Underground Railroad. And I felt like that's a really important story to tell. So that there is freedom and social justice for all. So she was always growing and redefining herself. And to me, that shows that we can continue to create for the rest of our lives. And that's how I want to be. Out of my way, girl. That overseer pushed me. Look at me like he hate me. Don't make no sense, grown man hating me like that. He don't even know me or my name. What I felt is that the show was good for their self-esteem. And the reason why is because it showed where they came from. They were completely into it on the edge of their seats. And then when she crossed the line into freedom, they just broke out into the spontaneous applause. That's it. The Mason-Dixon line. One step from treachery into freedom. By the end of the show, they were standing taller. And I saw their self-esteem grow. They came from a people who persevered and they didn't let anything stop them. And I felt like they took that on and gained pride about their heritage and therefore and thus who they are today.
a lot of it just starts to feel very real. Like a lot of her story just starts to feel real and powerful, and you see her as just so strong.
I just want them to reach their full potential. I just want them to know that they can be and do what they want to do. One thing that the show ends with is she says that whether you're born
on this land,
free or a slave,
I want you to keep the faith. And remember this, behind every great dream is a dreamer. And each of you here have the strength inside, the patience, and the passion
to reach for the stars and change the world.
Follow HEC Media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
You just never know where that spark is going to come from.
You're putting a human touch to everything through the vehicle of art.
We give them the ability to hope.
My name is Tatiana Telnikova. I am the owner of this beautiful establishment here, the Handlebar. We've been here for 9 years. I recently started a fundraiser/information campaign. It's called Be Human Stl. Reached out to a bunch of other restaurant and business owners that I know to participate in donating a percentage of their sales to organizations that provide legal aid to immigrants and refugees here in St. Louis and also at the border where we currently have a pretty major crisis. The organizations that I chose to benefit with this fundraiser are Raíces and the MICA Project. The MICA Project is a local organization, really wonderful people, WashU Law School graduates who could have careers in corporate, but instead they choose to represent the underrepresented and are helping unaccompanied minors here in St. Louis.
Tatiana is very passionate about this and really convinced us that this could be a really great way to communally raise some money to help with the legal fees that are needed for these people to get the proper representation. Not only my parents were immigrants here, they did come here legally and with no problem. We know so many people here who helped build this community who weren't born in the United States, who have come here and chose to come here to make it a better place, and it does affect us. And so Be Human Stl, I guess, focuses on the humanity of what is happening there and that we all need this proper representation, but this has happened with other cultures and ethnicities historically, and it seems like we're doing the same thing over again.
It's been really wonderful having so many people willing to put their money where their mouth is and support the cause. All the news that everybody got swamped with a few months ago, the crisis and the border and all that stuff, so I started looking into it, I started reading about it. This is not just as an immigrant, but also now as a mother. I have a 15-month-old baby, and the thought of being separated from her, the thought of her being in subpar care, that is so incredibly horrendous that I don't have words for that. I was losing sleep at night because I have a nice job and I'm surrounded by wonderful people and I have nothing to complain about. And these processes that just should be working and had been working before are just getting stripped away, and so are their rights, and they do actually have rights, which a lot of people don't think they do, but they really, really do if you actually read about this. The truth of it is I actually was illegal here for 2 years at one point. So by that standard, I should have been, criminalized, deported, all this stuff. But now I own, multiple organizations. I have over 20 people working for me, all Americans. So I would say that's a net positive, and I know actually a lot of immigrants are a lot more prone to starting new businesses themselves because we don't get hired. Again, I'm not collecting the money. I just want to send it to Raices and Micah. But that's not all I want. I was hoping that this could also start a conversation, because I feel like we're also living in a time where we're so bombarded with information constantly and so many bad news, and everyone seems to have forgotten that this is going on, because now there's new problems. Now there's like new news to talk about. But I just really want to urge people to understand that this is really important, and this just simply cannot be ignored. Just can't. Just don't be silent.
HEC Films. Explore, inspire, educate, and entertain. HEC Films, just one of the many facets of award-winning content you'll find at hecmedia.org.
Frankie Muse Freeman wore many hats in her remarkable 101 years on this planet.
I had been appointed as the first female commissioner of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. Served for 16 years under 4 presidents.
Wife, mother, lawyer, and civil rights activist. As a youth in her hometown of Danville, Virginia, Freeman regularly faced racial discrimination and promised herself that she would find a way to fight the bias she faced on a daily basis.
We walked to school because our parents did not, it was absolutely racially segregated, and so black people were expected to sit in the back of the bus and no way. So we walked wherever we had to go, unless we were riding in a car. But we would not. One of the things that our parents agreed was that there are things in terms of the segregation that you had no choice. But if you had a choice, you rejected it. I was graduated from Westmoreland High School, and I decided that I was going to be a lawyer and I was going to work to change things. That's what I did. I graduated from Howard in 1947, second in my class. By that time, I was married, I had a daughter. I was determined I was going to become a lawyer, but I was not going to do anything that was less than what a wife and mother would do. So I would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and do my homework while I was a student there. Thurgood Marshall, when I graduated, offered me a job working for the NAACP. But my husband was from St. Louis, so there was no question but that we were going to be coming to and live in St. Louis.
Freeman spent her life fighting discrimination and helping to establish civil rights policies, including helping to end school and housing discrimination in St. Louis.
I left Howard and came to St. Louis thinking that maybe I could at least become a member of the staff of one of the law schools. And that was not the case with respect to either the white ones or the lawyer. They were going to give me a job, but I was determined that I was going to try cases and I was going to be a trial lawyer. I was denied. Then I told Shelby, my husband, well, I'm going to open my own law office, and that's what I did. And I associated myself with the NAACP and told them I'd be available. And so I was available when Randolph and Witherspoon from Bruton versus Board of Education filed in 1949. It was my first civil rights case, which we handled, and we won it in the circuit court. There's an individual responsibility for each one of us to do our homework and make it better. And I'm hoping that each one of us will do our homework and make it better.
You're watching Spotlight.
Some of the most polluted cities from all over the world call on Pratim Biswas with Washington University in St. Louis to advise them when facing serious public health issues from pollution. In December 2019, he traveled to India's capital city of New Delhi, where air quality reached dangerous levels in November. With the heavy smog, authorities declared a public health emergency. Schools were shut down and flights canceled. The Delhi government asked Biswas for recommendations, as his aerosol and air quality research laboratory offers new techniques and technologies.
We have state-of-the-art instrumentation. Some of these instruments, the least cost $100,000, could go up to $500,000, $1 million, and we use them.
The lab is run by the Center for Aerosol Science and Engineering at Washington University in St. Louis, which is considered the world's best and most comprehensive center for the advancement of aerosol science and technology. Biswas oversees the state-of-the-art center at the McKelvey School of Engineering as Assistant Vice Chancellor and Department Chair. With New Delhi facing a daunting problem, his lab deployed a network of high-quality particulate matter sensors in the city that measure fine particles and determine what they are made of. The data is sent to the cloud in real time, and scientists in the lab use their algorithms to determine major contributing sources of the pollution. With the information, policymakers in India may take action and control emissions. Also in December, Biswas joined his peers at the Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay, to celebrate the opening of the Aerosol and Air Quality Research Shared Facility in Mumbai. The school is now a partner in Washington University's Global Aerosol Network. He explains just how much other parts of the world can learn from St. Louis.
St. Louis now historically has had very strong aerosol research efforts.
Because of air pollution similar to what New Delhi has today. This is St. Louis in the late 1930s and 40s, before steps were taken to clean and monitor the air.
Coal was used to heat homes. As a result, there was a lot of fine particle pollutants, aerosols created. It was rather a grim situation, and people were having health issues by breathing these particles in. Took Washington University Professor Tucker to really step up. He took upon himself and became the mayor of the city, and then passed regulations to really control it, and he solved the problem.
Tucker later returned to Washington University, hiring future leading scientists, a path that led to Biswas and his contributions in the field of aerosol science. In 2018, Biswas was honored with a prestigious once-in-a-lifetime award. Biswas shares his vision for the future, one that he hopes will help people across the globe live and breathe easier.
They are the best-selling authors and all of your favorite genres. For in-depth, one-on-one interviews, go to hecmedia.org. Her ID card listed her occupation as secretary, but when the Nazis occupied France, her real job title was shortened from secretary to secret.
I just wanted to write this book so badly because I just fell in love with her. I just fell in love with her character.
At the height of World War II, Madeline Fourcade led the largest and most influential resistance group in France, despite the fact that she was young and a woman.
She was not your normal French woman. She had, by all accounts, an amazing aura of authority around her that just made people want to obey her. She was also very charismatic.
The accomplishments of Madame Fourcade's network of spies is impressive, and the dangers they faced gathering their intelligence breathtaking.
She looked on her agents as if they were her own children. So when they were arrested and when she found out that they had been killed, it just devastated her. She talked about, one time she talked about it, it felt like she was wielding an executioner's axe every time she crossed out the name of one of her people. But she kept going. I mean, that's the extraordinary thing, is she kept going.
Yeah, as I was reading the book, one thing that kept occurring to me, I was sort of asking myself and wondering if readers, and perhaps even the author, ask themselves this as you do it, is, would I do this?
Exactly.
Could I really do this if I was put in that position?
What do you think? Do you think you could do it?
Now, Marie Madeline's unsung heroism is finally being celebrated in a new book that reads like fiction, but is based on fact. It's Madame Fourcade's Secret War.
Happening now. You'll find 13,000 sea animals at the St. Louis Aquarium, open 365 days a year. Then from ice carving demonstrations to ice slides, the Loop Ice Carnival happens today until 6. Plus, find comfort and joy through works of art at the Foundry Art Center through January 24th. Or connect St. Louis to the Missouri watershed at the St. Louis Art Museum.
St. Louis, of course, is famous as the gateway to the West, and the land use that made that possible was developed by Thomas Jefferson through a gridded township drawing. The squaring of our farmland that you see when you fly over it, my approach is much more bottom-up than top-down, so I tend to think concretely from the world to ideas of organization.
Our current Freund Fellow exhibition is Currents 117 Dave Hallfish Bailey. The Henry L. and Natalie E. Freund Fellowship has been in existence since 1996, and it's a partnership between the Sam Fox School of Art and Architecture at Washington University in St. Louis and the St. Louis Art Museum. And it's a really exciting partnership because it brings artists in to teach and work with students for around a semester at the art school, and then they have a solo show that's often exhibiting new work by the artist at the St. Louis Art Museum a year later. Dave Bailey is a Los Angeles-based artist who really works across media. He creates these environments that connect different works across the gallery. And here he's really thinking about different ways in which we connect to the land, we connect to virtual space, and we think about the history of how we've inhabited the world.
The show is about St. Louis in relationship to the Missouri watershed. I want to create a kind of a relational map between the city and the far reaches of the country that are affected by it. We are all interconnected in deep ways and material ways, and the challenges of the future will require at least regional and global ways of thinking about space and place. The exhibition asks questions about how we might do that, how we might think about the far edges of the watershed in this case, the places that we don't normally think are connected yet are deeply connected. I start my process with on-the-ground research, really observational, and then follow that up with a variety of more traditional research. The idea of thinking concretely through the landscape is very important to me in my process. I hope when people come to see the show, they ask a lot of questions. They think about the history of how the landscape came to be as it is, and the possibilities for reorganizing it in different ways in the future as the climate changes and some of the traditional models of land ownership and the agricultural history upon which the westward expansion occurred is perhaps challenged in certain areas of the country. I believe we're at a moment culturally where new forms of collaboration and relational thinking about the networks of which we're all part are increasingly important.
You're watching Spotlight. It's the road less traveled, especially this early in the morning.
It is 5:55 a.m. We're picking up our first dog for spay-neuter today.
Deanna Savi says this is the right path because her destination is headed for change.
I've been in rescue for years and years, and we can rescue from now until the end of time, but the only thing that's going to really make a difference is to stop dogs from being on the streets in the first place. And this is one of the big ways to do that. I'm going to have you hold this, because I'm going to take him and get him in the van, and then I'm going to have you sign some stuff, okay?
Savi is a volunteer with nonprofit animal rescue group, the Gateway Pet Guardians. But today, she's not rescuing animals.
Look, and your name's on there, all for you.
Her job is to help the human community members by offering free spay and neuter services for their pets.
Drop off is 7 a.m. at the clinic and pick up is 4 p.m.
Complete with a ride to get them there and back.
Where I live in St. Louis City, there's several vet clinics within a mile of my house, and they don't have that in East St. Louis, so they don't even know where to go if they do want to spay and neuter.
In East St. Louis, stray dogs and owned dogs who roam the street are a familiar sight.
And many people don't understand the benefits of spaying and neutering. And we found that providing the education and the resources, people are very agreeable to it.
An unspayed female can have around 20 puppies a year.
Spaying and neutering 4 or 5 dogs in one day, that's potentially avoiding 20, 30, 40 unwanted litters. I can really see the difference that I'm making in this community, and it's really nice to be making a difference in that end of things.
While Savi drops off dogs at the clinic, another team heads out in the same area in preparation for frigid weekend temperatures. With temps expected to reach single digits, these volunteers are dropping off free supplies to help residents care for their pets.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yep. Basically, we build relationships with community members and we help supply them with the resources that they need, such as tie-outs, dog houses, collars, leashes. We want to encourage pet owners to bring them indoors, but if they can't or if they won't, we line the dog houses with straw so they can stay warm.
Gateway finds people who need them by word of mouth or just driving around and seeing an animal without proper shelter. Thick, heavy chains are replaced with tie-outs.
They care for their pets. They love their pets. You know, we see it every single weekend. They have limited resources.
Volunteers are paid in thank yous and a gift only a dog can give.
You're welcome. You are welcome.
East St. Louis resident Andre Triplett has 2 dogs he keeps outside. One of them, the Gateway Pet Guardians transported to get neutered this morning.
I appreciate this. I love you guys. Boy, this is a blessing. I sure I was going to have to get some dog houses. I thank you. Appreciate it very much.
They react very positively, and we actually have people in the community flagging us down sometimes to get us to stop and talk to them.
Since the Gateway Pet Guardians outreach program began 8 years ago, they've spayed and neutered over 2,300 pets. They've handed out hundreds of dog houses and tie-outs and even helped pay for emergency surgeries, vaccinations, and examinations.
We're taking a proactive approach to ending animal homelessness. So we're actually going out in the community, spaying and neutering the pets, keeping them with their families that love them. We don't want to take them away from them. And I think that's what makes Gateway Pet Guardians different.
It's a program that's driving straight for success in hopes to get to a point where they are not needed at all. Thanks for watching Spotlight. Join us again next Sunday at 9:30 a.m.